Rubicon. In this video, I'm going to show you my everyday carry for 2025. This has evolved a bit over the course of the year, so I wanted to make this video prior to going into 2026 to highlight some of the things that I have been carrying with me on a consistent basis, things that have worked well, things that have not worked well, and just, whatever I find useful, going through my day-to-day life. So typically what I carry with me depends on the situation. In most cases, as long as I'm not trying to run out the door, I'll typically carry kind of a sling bag with me. It's easy enough just to throw in my truck, or worst case, if I need to wear it, I can also do that. And most of the items, with the exception of a couple things, I typically carry in this bag and not on my person. But the bag that I use, just to start out here, is this North Face bag. I think I got this from North Face directly. Not super expensive, kind of feels like a canvasy material, but has worked extremely well for what I need it for. Just quickly running through it, it's got kind of a loop here if you need to clip anything on. It has 3 compartments. None of them are especially large. There's a smaller front one, kind of this main pocket in the middle, and then the pocket in the back, which is nice. It's actually kind of like fleece lined. And then on the back side, it's got an adjustable strap. So, if you need to throw it over your shoulder or your back, you can easily do that. And then on the top, it also has a loop. So if you need to grab it and walk, you can do that too. Again, this is great, especially I have a 6-month-old son. So, if I need to change anything out in this from it just being me versus, some of the stuff that he might need, we can also use this bag as well. So I think it's pretty multi-dimensional in terms of what you can utilize something like this for. The one thing before we jump in here too, I know a lot of people with these types of videos will say, oh, here's my phone, wallet, car keys, etc. I'm not going to do that. It's pretty standard. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has car keys, so I'm not going to highlight that. The first thing that I wear every day that I think is extremely useful is my watch. So the watch that I use is this. It is the Garmin Fenix 7 Solar, I believe. I've had it for a little over a year. I love this watch. It's extremely useful in a lot of different situations. It also syncs with your phone too through the Garmin app, so it'll give you some diagnostic stuff or performance stuff. If you're into working out, it has biking, running, hiking, etc. So there's a lot there that it offers. And then otherwise, there's just a lot of useful things with like weather, music, and like I said, since it's solar, the face of it does charge the watch. It does take a while, as you might imagine, but it will charge it up over a period of time. And the one thing that I really like about this watch too is, a lot of people will carry a light with them, which I do think is important, but this actually has a light on the top part of the watch. It has a white and red light that you can toggle. So I found that very useful and have used it in multiple situations. And then just the grit, or the band, that comes on this is rubberized. Very comfortable, not too heavy, not too big. So if you're in the market for a new watch, I definitely think these are a little bit more utilitarian as opposed to like an Apple Watch, just for the application that I need it for. So definitely look into these if you're in the market. So the second thing that I have with me all the time is a Swiss Army knife. Again, this is very basic knife. This is a little bit smaller, so this way I don't have to carry like a Leatherman, but it still has a lot of the key stuff that I need. Knife, kind of screwdriver, tweezers, small scissors, like you name it. There's enough stuff on here that for most of the situations that I would need something, which admittedly 90% of the time is a knife, this does really well. So I always have this in my bag. I bring this to the gun range with me when I go shoot, things like that. So definitely good to have one of these with you, and again, not super expensive. The next thing that I have with me, which I think is often overlooked but super important, is a cat tourniquet. This one's still in the plastic. I have several of these. I keep one in my car, keep one in my range bag, have one in an emergency kit. So they're kind of around my house. These are not, again, expensive. I think they're $25 or $30. But, in the event that either you, someone in your family, or someone around you may need a tourniquet, is probably far more likely than you may expect. So these are pretty compact, and would definitely recommend picking one up at least, and learning how to use it as well. You don't want to be ripping this thing out of the plastic for the first time if you've never used one. But like I said, just super, super important to have from a first aid perspective. So definitely look into these. Again, easy enough to get on Amazon, and something that you may, find yourself in a situation that you need one, and it could honestly save your life. I mentioned that I have a 6-month-old. So again, another thing that a lot of people overlook sometimes is, saying, okay, I have a tourniquet, but a lot of times those full-size cat tourniquets do not fit small children. So if you're in a situation where you need to use it for a child, and it doesn't fit, then you're going to be in a tough spot. So the one other thing that I would also recommend looking into or getting is this SWAT-T tourniquet. Again, there's multiple companies that make these, but this is a kind of stretchy tourniquet. It's kind of rubberized or elastic, but it functions the same as the cat tourniquet would, but it's also designed for children. So this can tighten down a lot tighter than the cat tourniquet can, and comes in a pretty small package, obviously. So if you need to throw it in a bag like the North Face one that I showed, you can easily do that. But again, if you have children or small nieces, nephews, things like that, this again is an inexpensive thing that I think is just very, very important to have with you. The next thing that I have with me at all times are AirPods. Yes, this is still the first generation AirPods. They still work fine. I actually think these are more comfortable than some of the later editions of them. But, having to take work calls or listening to music, or if I go to the gym or whatever, these are super easy to use, compact. So I always keep these with me too. Lastly, in terms of my carry gun, again, my carry gun I usually carry on my person instead of in a bag, because it's easier for me to access it should I need it. So I'll normally have that appendix and then just have my bag, again, either in front or behind, wearing it. The one last thing that I will keep in the bag, though, is just an extra magazine. So I don't have a holster or carrier for this or anything. I just kind of throw it in the bag. But it is something that I do also carry with me in a backup capacity if needed. So the carry gun. So this is my Glock 43X. This is the gun that I carry every day. The reason why I got this was I wanted something that was easy for me, for the size that I am, to conceal, especially since, again, I prefer to carry appendix. Something that's reliable, which is synonymous with Glock, and something that was 9mm, just easy to manipulate, easy to use, and something that I knew would work well for the applications that I would need it for. So before I get into the gun, I'll quickly walk through the holster here. So the holster that I use is a Kydex holster. I know there's been a lot of debate in terms of Kydex versus leather. I would definitely recommend Kydex. It's just, from a safety perspective, especially if you carry your gun loaded, there's very minimal chance of anything happening with this, protecting the trigger and the trigger guard. So I would definitely look into these. Black Arch, I've been very happy with this holster. Honestly, I wasn't too familiar with them before I ordered this holster, and I kind of looked into them and some other companies and ended up going with this. I don't remember the exact pricing for this model. It was definitely under $75, so pretty reasonable before shipping. But they're nice because they're pretty configurable too. So I have this plastic clip, but if you wanted to, you know, switch it around and actually carry it outside the waistband, you could also do that as well. And then I also got this paddle with it too, which just allows you to conceal carry, and it imprints a little bit less on your shirt and things like that. So yeah, and they have, you know, different colors. I got this kind of gray flat color. They have black, green, you know, a bunch of different stuff. So definitely a great company. So check them out if you're in the market for a new holster. The other accessory that I got with this too is this is actually a metal clip. So sometimes I will swap this out with this depending on what I'm carrying. If I'm wearing a carry belt, I'll typically use the plastic clip. If I have a, you know, belt that's a little bit more flexible, sometimes, you know, I'll use the metal one because it's a little bit more stiff and rigid. And again, these are super easy to swap in and out. It's just a couple screws. So yeah, just been very, very happy with this holster in the time that I've had it. So again, before we get into the gun, I did clear and safe this weapon. There's no ammunition in the gun, so everything's good from that perspective. I haven't really done a whole lot, as you can see visually with this, in terms of modifying it. The only thing that I did is just throw a rubberized Talon grip on this just to get a little bit more grip, because again, Glocks, generally speaking, especially these editions, don't have a lot of stippling on the grip, and I like to make sure that I can get a firm grip on the gun. This gun has been great. I may do a separate video covering it, but again, it's pretty stock. This is not the MOS with the rail or the optic cut. The reason being, you know, I think you need to, again, carry what you know you'll likely use, or for the applications that you're carrying for, you know, be set up for success. You know, I don't personally like to carry my guns with a light or a red dot. That's just me. I know some people say it's more accurate, or, you know, what if it's, you know, nighttime? What are you going to do? Well, you know, it's just a personal choice. So definitely do what works best for you. If the MOS is better, certainly go for that. But yeah, this gun has been great so far. I mean, it shoots pretty accurately. It's fairly lightweight. The capacity, I have the stock mags for this still, so it's a 10 round capacity plus one in the chamber. I was thinking about swapping to the Shield magazines, but I've heard some issues with that, with malfunctions and things like that, so I haven't done that to date. And again, I have the extra magazine with me as well. This gun is pretty slim in terms of its profile, especially compared to like a full-size Glock, which is also nice because, again, it won't imprint that much on your shirt if you're carrying it or things like that. So yeah, just great gun. Very easy to get a full grip with 3 fingers on this, but the barrel is so short that, again, it doesn't feel bulky when you're carrying it. So I'm probably going to stick with this for a bit, but again, if I do end up doing a 2026 EDC, then you may see a new handgun in that video. And that's pretty much it. Again, I try to stay pretty light in terms of what I bring with me day to day. Just things that I know I absolutely need, or just, again, from a first aid perspective, things that would be helpful to have with me. So I hope this helps people make an informed decision on what kind of EDC items they should have with them. And like I said, we'll see what 2026 brings, and if there's any new items that get added to my inventory, then I will certainly highlight them on a future video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.